こんにちは。飛行士南アフリカ航空の歴史日本のブランドの新しいへようこそ。
Hello and welcome to this brand new series on the Aviators South Africa, Aviation History.
私は名前カビール・ワダハレ。私はのワリク・ションのホストです。
My name's Warwick and I'm the host on the show with Kabir.
今日のショーでは日本の所有航空会社日本航空 JAL 歴史について話します。
Today on the show we'll be talking about the history of one of Japan's major airlines, Japan Airlines, also known as JAL.
ただきますよ。お願いいたしまして。もうお楽しみ2個の新しいベンチャーです。
We hope that you're going to enjoy this new venture with us.
私たちにコメントを残してこのビデオを好きにしてください。また首位を素早くして横にしてください。
Remember to give us some feedback in the comment section below, and please give us a like and make sure to subscribe and to enable the notifications so you will get notified when we release a new video.
エピソードを楽しむありがとうございました。
Enjoy the episode.
This episode is in association with African Pilot magazine. Subscribe to Africa's finest aviation magazine today. For more information, go to www.africanpilot.co.za. Producing this content takes a lot of time and effort. Therefore, why don't you become a member of our channel through Buy Me a Coffee or on our website? This will assist us financially and allow us to continue providing quality aviation content to South Africa and beyond. As a member of our channel, you will receive members-only aviation tech content reviews, get early YouTube videos and podcasts, and even get featured on our podcast and YouTube episodes. To do this, click on the links in the description. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link and there's a link in our website. If you click on the link to our website, you will get a 10-day free trial and then you can decide whether you'd like to continue. Alternatively, just buy us a coffee on the link below. $5 a coffee. Thank you for supporting us. Enjoy the episode. In August of 1951, Japan Airlines, or JAL, was born. The goal was to connect Japan by air. In October, JAL began commercial service in the Japanese domestic market. By February 1954, JAL launched its first international route between Tokyo, Honolulu, and San Francisco. This was a major milestone for the airline.
In 1960, JAL received its first Douglas DC-8, the first jetliner. Japan Airlines would much later go on to flying the Boeing 747 and 787 aircraft. Receiving the Douglas DC-8 allowed JAL to create bigger and more ambitious routes. A year later, JAL started their first flights to Europe. The DC-8 enabled them to do this.
In 1964, Japan Domestic Airlines was established by merging Nitto Aviation and Fuji Airline and Northern Japan Airlines. This later became very useful for JAL as it would ultimately assist them in opening up their domestic market. In 1964, Japan Airlines offered the first travel package in Japan, known as JADAPAK. It allowed Japanese citizens to travel the world with hotels, holidays, and more options included within one package.
In 1967, JAL launched its Tokyo to New York City route. This would be beneficial to JAL as it opened up a space for American tourists to come and experience Japan, ultimately boosting tourism. A few years later, JAL received its first Boeing 747. The airline was one of the original customers of the Boeing 747. The last of these aircraft were retired and sold to various cargo operators in 2011.
In 1971, Toa Domestic Airlines was founded after a merger of Japan Domestic Airlines and Toa Airlines. Japan Asia Airlines was founded in 1975. Now, this allowed JAL to operate flights to Taiwan. This was common practice among airlines and was often used as a method to be allowed to operate to these countries such as Taiwan, KLM Asia, British Asia Airways, and of course Japan Asia Airlines, just to name a few. In 1987, JAL was privatized, and at this provided the airline better options to manage the company better and to continue its operations.
In 2006, Japan Domestic Airlines merged with JAL. The name was changed a few years earlier to Japan Domestic Airlines. In 2007, JAL became a member of the One World Alliance, along with British Airways, American Airlines, and several other airlines. This helped JAL to strengthen its bond with these airlines and countries to this day. JAL is still a member with the One World Alliance.
A few years ago, JAL strengthened its ties with British Airways, American Airlines, and Finnair. This was an attempt to bring fellow One World Alliance members together. It assisted JAL by allowing the airline to operate much more flights to the UK, Europe, and the US. JAL is an amazing success story. The airline managed to boost tourism to Japan and opened up a culture that was never really experienced by foreigners.
Express 866, contact approach 19050.
That's Boeing 5172, we are descending flight level 70 on course to Sierra Papa Lima.
Austrian 37 Yankee, descend flight level 100, after RT proceed to Sierra Papa Yankee.
So I have a special guest in the studio with Warwick and I. We are welcomed by Tom. Tom, it's nice to have you with us. And we are going to be discussing Japan Airlines, or JAL. And there are a lot of interesting points. So Japan Airlines fleet renewal strategy, we're going to start off over there. There's a very interesting thing. So you would have heard by the time you see this episode that we had a specific episode for the Boeing 747, the Queen of the Skies, specifically also for British Airways, because British Airways retired the 747 with immediate effect. It's not like in a month's time or in 4 years, how it was meant to be, but rather there and then it's gone. But this is a very interesting point because Japan Airlines, finished retiring their 747, but, I think it was 2004. And that really struck me because if they knew by then that they were going to retire their aircraft, why haven't other airlines opted to retire these less fuel-efficient aircraft there and then? So this is very interesting. The other thing that I will say is their fleet renewal strategy consists of A350s and Boeing 787s. Their A350 came earlier this year, and they have been they've got 787 for quite a long time now, and they're really building it up. So these aircraft are very fuel efficient, very modern, etc. So it's really interesting to see. But it's also very hard to see why JAL was ahead of the pack in terms of retiring the 747. And this is really just something that I can't wrap my head around it. Tom and Warwick, do you think that, there's a specific reason why they retired on the 747? Warwick?
Well, I think they may have done it early just because the fuel-efficient aircraft were starting out, and they thought, well, let's get ahead of the pack and get some more fuel-efficient aircraft. However, there is another there's a possibility of a downside, is that now we're getting even more fuel-efficient aircraft, and obviously it will keep on climbing, but it's soon going to start leveling off to what you can actually get in terms of fuel efficiency out of an aircraft. So in that sense, they could have, stayed with the 747 in less economical aircraft, and then gone straight to one of the most economical aircraft compared to instead of going to something which is economical but not 100% or not very, very economical. Tom?
Well, I 100% agree with you. But also, the thing I wanted to say as well was just the fact that they retired it early could be a sign because they're pushing because it's rather uneconomical compared to the newer planes. So if they're just going to retire it early and replace it with more modern technology or newer planes with better technology, then like I think that is probably the reason why they do it. I mean, even though it's very sad to see and it's such a great plane, it is more high maintenance and it's less fuel efficient, and so obviously then you don't really want that, even though there is almost a sentimental value to the plane. It's not as efficient, or that sort of thing.
That is a very interesting point, Tom. You talk about sentimental value. And we all had this kind of bittersweet moment as Qantas and British Airways retired their 747s. And for us, we are saying, but why are we even sad? We aren't pilots of the 747. We didn't build it. We didn't do this or that. But it holds this value in our hearts, right? The sentimental value. So you're very right about that. But I'm going to touch on another point. COVID-19 in Japan. How does this relate? Well, COVID-19 in Japan is not like it is in South Africa, and it is not like it is in the rest of the world. So I'm pulling up the stats right now, right? And it's very interesting to see, because Japan Airlines has been affected, but not as affected as other airlines around the world. So the total confirmed number of cases, I think where we are today, somewhere in July, end of July, is 29,000. Okay, so I know you're thinking 29,000, that's quite a lot. But in comparison, and they only have 996 deaths. So this is at their surge at the moment, and there's big controversy about whether Abe-san, the Prime Minister of Japan, whether he must declare state of emergency again. But we look at South Africa. We are on, I think, 400,000, 500,000 cases, somewhere there. And Japan is the society where people just listen. And that's how it is. So they haven't been affected. Their domestic market has been slightly affected. The international market rather, but their domestic, they are starting to build up again. So it's really interesting to see how some airlines get affected by the situation and others don't. But before we start wrapping up, it's such an amazing airline. This is a complete success story. But before we wrap up on JAL, Warwick or Tom, do you have any other things to say? Because we love hearing these discussions. It's very interesting to hear other points of view and opinions.
I mean, you've covered everything. I don't have much more to say.
But I have one more question for you guys. Do you think, in terms of going back to fleet renewal and cargo, you guys know a lot more about the 787, apologies, 777X, etc., and cargo capabilities. Do you think it was the right thing to do in terms of the discussion about which of these aircraft are good for their fleet renewal? Warwick?
Well, I think any of these aircraft are good, and they're all fuel efficient. So for them, I don't think it's too much of a problem. They don't really operate cargo that much. So, I mean, obviously we've got some odd circumstances at the moment, though, because of COVID-19. But if you put out COVID and we pretend that it's not here, then I think they've got a good fleet from the moment. At the moment there is COVID, though, so I think all of these aircraft have cargo capabilities which they can use to their advantage.
This is an extension of the Aviators South Africa podcast. Find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor and more. Look in the description for the links. Also, please like and subscribe. Happy flying!
Thank you very much for tuning into this Aviation History episode featuring Japan Airlines, or JAL. It's been a pleasure having you guys watch. Thank you to Tom Dewey for the music. This was a remix of The Aviators, originally done by Helen Jane Long. The song means the world to us, so thank you, Tom, for bringing it back to life. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us a like, thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe, enable notifications so that you'll get notified when we release a new video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Visit our website. The link is in the description below. We hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Also, Please remember to visit www.sacoronavirus.co.zn for more information, stats, etc. That was me, Kabir, speaking the Japanese in the beginning of the video. I would like to sincerely apologize if it was not totally accurate. I'm still a beginner and I'm learning. So please give me some feedback in the comment section below. Tell me what I could do better. And it's nice to have discussions in the comments with you, so please leave us a comment as well. Arigatou gozaimasu. Happy flying.